Everyone thinks I'm fine. It's the sentence I repeat automatically. To colleagues, to friends, to strangers, even to myself. A polite mask that hides a weight pressing on my chest, the heaviness that no one else sees. From the outside, life looks normal. I wake up, I work, I smile, I show up. But inside, it feels like carrying a backpack filled with stones I can't set down. Every thought adds another weight. Every worry another invisible brick in a wall I build around myself. Have you ever felt invisible in your own life? The pressure is quiet at first. A lingering tension behind every decision. A shadow of doubt in every conversation. Anxiety whispers, you're not enough. You're behind. No one notices your struggle. It's subtle, insidious, and relentless. Even in a crowded room, I feel isolated. Watching others laugh, connect, succeed, while I move through my day like a ghost. Words spill out automatically, gestures practice, but my mind is somewhere else, trapped, exhausted, overthinking. Some nights, the weight is unbearable. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts run in circles. Regrets, what-ifs, and self-doubt create a storm that no one can see. I try distractions, scrolling, noise, routines, but nothing fully quiets the storm. The weight is always there, pressing silently, refusing to be ignored. And yet, there's a strange clarity in acknowledging it. Naming the heaviness makes it real, makes it human, because everyone carries burdens, even if theirs look different. And recognizing that mine exists is the first step toward noticing that I don't have to carry it forever. I start to realize something subtle but important. I can't control how others see me, and that's okay. I can't make my struggles visible to everyone, but I can make them visible to myself. I can allow myself small acts of care, moment of pause, and honest acknowledgement of the weight I carry. The backpack is still there. The stones haven't vanished. But for the first time in a long while, I notice that I am still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. And that realization, fragile, quiet, yet undeniable, becomes the first spark of hope. Sometimes the world feels smaller than it is. It isn't the streets, the office, or the rooms around me that shrink. It's my mind. Anxiety builds invisible walls, confining me to a space I can't fully escape. I move through life cautiously, like I'm navigating a maze without a map, every step uncertain, every choice heavy. The walls aren't loud. They don't slam shut or make noise. They whisper, don't do that. What if you fail? What if they judge you? What if something goes wrong? Each whisper is small, almost imperceptible, but together they form a barrier no one can see. And the strangest part? I start to believe the walls are real, that they exist in the world outside of me. Have you ever felt trapped in your own mind, even when the world seems wide open? Mornings are hardest. My to-do list is simple, but anxiety turns it into a mountain. I overthink every email, every conversation, every small decision. My chest tightens. My palms sweat. Thoughts spiral. And while everyone else moves forward effortlessly, I hesitate, trapped in a loop of fear and indecision. Even social interactions feel like climbing. Smiling feels exhausting. Laughing feels rehearsed. Listening feels impossible because my mind is preoccupied with worst-case scenarios. And when I return home, the walls follow me. Silence isn't comforting. It's a reminder of all the spaces I avoided, all the risks I didn't take, all the moments I let pass. Yet in that suffocating maze, there is a small flicker of awareness. The realization that the walls are not permanent. That anxiety is powerful, yes, but it does not define me. That each pause, each breath, each tiny act of courage chips away at the barrier. I start noticing the cracks. Moments when I can move without fear. When a conversation doesn't spiral. When I laugh without rehearsing. These moments are fragile, fleeting, but they are proof. Proof that freedom exists inside the mind, even when the walls feel impenetrable. The walls are still there. Anxiety hasn't vanished. But now, I can see the path through them. And for the first time in a long while, the world doesn't feel so small. It's everywhere. Social media feeds, casual conversations, glimpses of someone else's life that seem brighter, faster, better. the promotion they earned, the trip they took, the project they finished while you're still stuck at square one. The trap isn't obvious at first. It creeps in quietly, wrapping itself around your thoughts. Why am I not there yet? Am I doing enough? Each comparison whispers self-doubt, turning small insecurities into mountains too steep to climb. I've felt it in my own life, scrolling through updates, seeing people move forward while I hesitate, overthink, and second-guess myself. The feeling is sharp but silent, an invisible pressure, a shadow that follows me everywhere. Have you ever felt behind, even when you're moving at your own pace? At first, I try to rationalize it. Everyone's path is different, I told myself. It's okay to go slower. But the whisper was persistent. It fed on every pause, every hesitation, every moment I doubted myself. I started measuring my life against others' achievements, forgetting that their highlight reels rarely show the struggles, the late nights, the quiet failures. Comparison isn't just seeing others succeed. It's believing your value is tied to someone else's story. It makes accomplishments feel meaningless. It makes growth invisible. And it steals the joy from the very progress you're making. Yet, there's a moment of clarity hidden in the trap. A quiet, almost imperceptible truth. Your journey is yours alone. Success isn't a race. Progress isn't linear. And the people you admire, their path isn't a reflection of your worth. I began noticing my own small victories. The emails I finished, the steps I took despite anxiety, the conversations I didn't avoid. They were quiet, easy to overlook, but they were mine. And in recognizing them, I felt something shift. A small sense of freedom, a subtle lift in the weight I'd carried. The comparison trap didn't vanish. The whispers didn't disappear. But I learned to walk through it, to notice my own steps, my own pace, my own journey. And for the first time in a long while, I felt enough. It happens quietly. At first, it's small. A missed call here, a skipped coffee there, a delayed reply that feels insignificant. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the distance grows. Friends notice less. Colleagues notice less. And eventually, even you stop noticing how far you pulled away from life itself. I found myself slipping into this silent retreat without meaning to. I arrived at work, sat at my desk, completed tasks mechanically, and left. I smile when spoken to, laugh when prompted, but inside, I felt hollow, disconnected, drifting. Conversations became exhausting. Social gatherings felt overwhelming. Even hobbies I once loved seemed distant, like I was watching life happen behind a foggy window. Have you ever felt physically present, but emotionally invisible? The retreat isn't dramatic. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or arguments. It's subtle, almost polite. It whispers in the gaps between obligations and responsibilities. It's easier to stay quiet. It's safer to withdraw. And slowly, you start believing it. Safety becomes isolation. Silence becomes a shield. At home, the walls feel closer. The apartment is the same as it's always been, but everything seems heavier. Meals are skipped or eaten alone. Netflix plays on muted background noise, but it doesn't distract. Thoughts spiral. Anxiety thrives in quiet rooms. Loneliness grows in unnoticed corners. Yet, there's a strange clarity in this retreat. In the stillness, I begin to notice what I've been avoiding. The conversations I never had, the feelings I refused to confront, the truths about myself I pretended not to see. And in noticing, a small spark of awareness lights up. Withdrawal isn't just retreat. It's also a mirror, showing the patterns I need to understand before I can move forward. The silent retreat doesn't disappear overnight. I'm still distant, still hesitant. But the first step toward reconnecting, toward rejoining life intentionally instead of slipping away unconsciously, is awareness. Recognizing that the walls aren't permanent, that silence can be broken, that pulling away doesn't have to define me. And as I look at my reflection, I realize, even in retreat, even in isolation, there's a path back to connection, presence, and life. Sometimes, the cracks appear quietly. No alarms, no flashing signs, just a subtle shift in your body, a hesitation in your thoughts, a tension behind your eyes. And yet, These small signals are the breaking points, moments when mental pressure builds beyond what we realize. I've felt them, sitting at my desk, staring at the same screen for hours, my mind racing with deadlines I couldn't meet, choices I hadn't made, and conversations I avoided. My chest tightens, my thoughts spiral. The weight of everything I've been carrying presses down, and for a fleeting moment, I wonder, how much longer can I hold this? Have you ever felt pressure rising without even noticing until it almost bursts? Breaking points don't always announce themselves dramatically. They hide in ordinary moments, burned out evenings, sleepless nights, or the quiet pause before you speak in a meeting. They're the tension in your shoulders, the quickening of your heartbeat, the restless energy that makes it impossible to focus. And yet, we ignore them. We push through, because admitting it feels like failure, because the world expects consistency, productivity, smiles, because we convince ourselves that others have it easier, that our struggles aren't serious enough. But the breaking points are real. They are undeniable. They demand recognition. They remind us that we've been living under a silent pressure that we cannot continue to ignore. In one quiet evening, I realized that acknowledging the breaking point isn't weakness. It's awareness. It's the first step toward relief, toward coping, toward change. Because only when we notice the cracks can we begin to repair what's strained inside. The pressure doesn't disappear instantly. The tension doesn't vanish in a single breath. But noticing it changes everything. It shifts the narrative from, I must survive silently, to, I can take steps to live fully. And in that subtle shift, I discover something powerful. Breaking points aren't the end. They are signals, guides pointing toward awareness, understanding, and the possibility of regaining control over your life. The cracks exist. The pressure remains. But now I can face it. Progress rarely arrives with fanfare. It doesn't always announce itself with headlines, applause, or visible milestones. Often, it slips in quietly, hiding in moments so subtle that we almost fail to notice them. But those moments, small, fragile, almost invisible, are where real change begins. I've spent years measuring myself by the grand gestures, the dramatic leaps forward, the achievements everyone else sees. And in doing so, I overlooked the quiet victories that actually kept me moving forward. The mornings I got out of bed, despite exhaustion. The conversations I didn't avoid. The tiny choices to breathe, to pause, to care for myself when every part of me wanted to shut down. Have you ever paused long enough to notice your own quiet victories? These wins are soft, almost imperceptible, but their impact is profound. A deep breath before reacting. An honest reflection instead of self-criticism. Completing a task you've been dreading. Saying no when you truly need to. Each small step builds strength quietly, like invisible bricks forming a bridge toward your better self. The beauty of these moments is that they don't require recognition. They don't need validation from anyone else. Their power lies in the subtle shift inside you, an awareness that you are moving, growing, learning to navigate life even when it feels impossible. I began to keep track, not in a journal for the world, but in a quiet mental list of things I had done differently than yesterday. A walk taken when I wanted to stay in bed, a difficult conversation faced instead of avoided, a thought challenged instead of believed blindly. And slowly, almost without noticing, I felt lighter, more capable, more present. I realized that life isn't only defined by grand victories. It's defined by these small, consistent acts that quietly shape resilience, confidence, and hope. The small wins exist. They are fragile, often invisible, but they matter more than the loudest moments of success. And in recognizing them, I begin to see something I have forgotten. Progress is real, and it is mine. Life felt scattered. Days blurred into one another, hours slipping past unnoticed, and I realized that the chaos wasn't just outside. It crept into my routines, my habits, even my sense of time. I was reacting to life instead of living it, letting each moment pass me by while anxiety and self-doubt guided my decisions. Rebuilding my rhythm didn't happen overnight. It began with small steps, almost imperceptible, yet each one carried weight. I started with the basics, waking at a consistent time, taking a few minutes to breathe and stretch, noticing sunlight on my skin before checking my phone. Ordinary actions, but strangely revolutionary. They reminded me that I could influence my own day. Have you ever taken a simple step and felt it ripple through your entire life? Next came structure, gentle, flexible, intentional. I mapped out tasks not as obligations, but as choices. A short walk when stress built, a moment to journal when thoughts felt tangled. Conversations scheduled mindfully, not avoided out of fear. Slowly, these routines stitched together a sense of stability, like threads weaving through a torn fabric. And then came coping strategies, quiet tools I had overlooked before, pausing instead of reacting, challenging negative thoughts instead of believing them, acknowledging feelings instead of suppressing them. Each practice wasn't dramatic, but cumulative, like drops filling a reservoir I hadn't known was empty. I began to notice the subtle shifts, less tension in my chest, a lighter step, a clearer mind. Days still had challenges, but I could meet them instead of being crushed. I realized that control wasn't about perfection. It was about presence, awareness, and a deliberate choice to engage with life instead of hiding from it. The rhythm wasn't perfect. Some days still felt heavy. Some routines still slipped. But each small act mattered. Each choice mattered. Each moment of awareness reinforced that I was capable, resilient, and able to navigate the storm inside my mind. Rebuilding my daily rhythm didn't just restore my schedule. It restored me. Step by step, breath by breath, choice by choice, I began to reclaim my life. And in that reclamation, I found quiet strength I thought I had lost forever. Life rarely follows a straight line. For years, I measured myself by milestones that weren't mine to compare, promotions, achievements, milestones I believed I should have reached by now. Every delay felt like failure, every stumble like proof I was behind. Anxiety whispered, "You're not moving fast enough. Everyone else is ahead." And slowly I started believing it. But growth isn't linear. It zigzags. It loops back. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening, and other times, change arrives in sudden, unexpected ways. Accepting this wasn't easy. I had to confront my own impatience, my own need to measure my worth against someone else's journey. I had to unlearn the idea that progress is always visible or dramatic. Have you ever felt like you're stuck while the world moves effortlessly around you? I began noticing the subtle markers of my own path, moments when I paused instead of reacting, when I faced discomfort instead of fleeing, when I completed a small task that once felt impossible. These were victories invisible to anyone else, yet profoundly real. Slowly, I realized that the only timeline that truly mattered was my own. Every setback became a lesson, every pause a necessary step, and every moment of persistence a quiet triumph. There was freedom in letting go of external expectations and choosing to honor my pace, my process, and my growth. I started trusting myself again, even when the path was unclear. Trusting that even if progress isn't obvious, it is happening. Trusting that my journey doesn't have to mirror anyone else's. Trusting that patience with myself is not weakness. It is resilience. And in embracing my own timeline, something shifted. Anxiety loosened its grip, self-doubt lost some of its weight, and I began to feel capable of moving forward on my own terms. The world may never recognize every step I take. It may never applaud the quiet persistence that carries me through the unseen struggles. But I know they matter. They are mine. They define me. Growth is not a straight path. It is jagged, winding, sometimes invisible, but it is real. And when I embrace it fully, I finally see what I have been missing: the power to shape my life at my own pace, in my own time. For a long time, I believed hope was loud. I imagined it as fireworks, grand gestures, visible signs of progress. But real hope is quieter. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It arrives in subtle, almost invisible moments. The pause before you react, the choice to keep going when it feels easier to stop, the acknowledgement that you are still here, still trying, still surviving. I remember sitting alone one evening, exhausted from the internal battles that had consumed my mind for years. The world outside my window was alive. Traffic, voices, distant laughter. Yet inside, everything felt still, heavy, almost frozen. And in that stillness, I noticed something I had been overlooking: resilience. Have you ever found strength in the quietest moments of your life? It was in the small decisions I made, the moments of patience I practiced, the acts of self-care I had ignored for so long. Each one was monumental on its own, but together, they formed a lifeline I hadn't realized I was holding. I had survived anxiety that felt insurmountable. I had faced days where isolation and self-doubt threatened to consume me, and yet I was still here. Hope isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about recognizing that even when the world feels overwhelming, even when your progress feels invisible, you are moving forward. You are learning. You are adapting. You are capable. And in this recognition comes self-acceptance. The understanding that your journey doesn't need to mirror anyone else's, that your struggles do not make you weak. They make you human. That the quiet victories, the resilience nurtured in unseen corners of your mind, are just as powerful as any visible achievement. The most profound realization came last. You are not alone. Everyone carries hidden battles. Everyone faces moments of doubt, fear, and exhaustion. But within these shared struggles lies connection, empathy, and the knowledge that survival itself is an act of courage. Hope doesn't scream. It whispers. It whispers in the quiet moments when you choose to breathe instead of panic, when you choose self-compassion instead of criticism, when you choose to keep going even though it feels impossible. And in that whisper, I found something unshakable: resilience, self-acceptance, and the certainty that even in our loneliest struggles, we are never truly alone.